I'm here at TiE Inflect 2018, formerly TiEcon, the largest entrepreneurs conference in the world, held annually at the Santa Clara Convention Center in Silicon Valley. This year's theme is Imagination AI. The conference features many tracks: AI machine learning, fintech, martech, IoT, cybersecurity, TiE women, health tech, DevOps, emerging tech, blockchain, and TiE youth. This is a two-day conference. I'll be speaking with many entrepreneurs and keynote speakers and showing you the highlights. TiE Silicon Valley has a mission to foster entrepreneurship globally and is one of the world's largest ecosystems for technology professionals, entrepreneurs, tech influencers, domain experts, enterprise executives, venture capitalists, and educators. I'm here with Greg LeBlanc. He is with UC Berkeley in the FinTech Institute there. You're a faculty director there and a speaker here. Can you educate us about the building blocks of FinTech?
Well, finance is really all about information. We have models of asymmetric information and delegated monitoring. These are technical terms, but really it's all about information. So the more information that we have out there, the more different types of data that financial institutions can gather, the more efficient the financial markets will become.
And I see a lot of numbers floating around that by 2020, a lot of these industries will be 65 billion, 4 billion, all these very large numbers. Do you see that type of growth?
Well, I think finance will always continue to grow as a percentage of GNP because it really is about the connective tissue, the circulatory system of the economy. And so the more sophisticated the economy, the more the role of finance and financial intermediation.
I'm here with Chandar. He's with Coupa Software. Chandar, tell me about the company and what the product is.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Coupa is the leader in business spend management. The simple way to look at it is what Salesforce.com is to sales is what we are to spend. What Salesforce is to CRM is what we are to a category called business spend management, which means that every dollar a company spends can be managed through Coupa, which is into all procurement, invoicing, expenses, sourcing, risk management, etc. And there's more than $670 billion to spend that companies do using Coupa today.
I'm talking to Gangesh Ganeshan of PeerNova. Gangesh, tell me a little bit about the company that you founded regarding blockchain.
It's been a pretty interesting journey. Thanks for the question. We started the company about 5 years ago, and it so happened that I read the Bitcoin white paper on the internet and thought it was very interesting and decided that we'll start a company. At that time, there was nothing to do, so we actually mined Bitcoins. And believe it or not, within a year, we had mined 47,000 Bitcoins, which we sold for $22 million at that time and bootstrapped and started this software company. So it's been a very, very interesting journey where, 5 years ago when no one knew Bitcoin to now blockchain is the rage everywhere, and we've had a fun journey.
Today we have Peggy Gibbs from Camp Bismarck, and she has got some wonderful, extremely interesting programs for our young generation. So let's talk to Peggy and what she has and what she's offering today. Hi Peggy, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
So tell us a little bit about what brings you at TiE Inflect today.
Well, Camp Bismart was founded 12 years ago to inspire the next generation of aspiring entrepreneurs. It's a business entrepreneur education camp to be able to hands-on project manage a real business case from a real world company and create a product solution that is pitched at Microsoft to real angels and venture capitalists. That's one of our programs. We now have expanded to also have an accelerator and also have a design-a-thon. So our programs range from age 11 all the way up to age 19.
Kavita, we are a healthcare technology company. Our main product is telehealth platform. So we take care of patients when they are not in front of a doctor or not in a hospital. So it's a remote care kind of a setting. And what we do is identify what the need of a patient are, their needs are, what their willingness or enthusiasm to do certain things are, and how can we generate excitement for them to do those things so that their behavior changes for the better, so that their health can improve either in a post-acute setting or in a long-term chronic disease kind of a setting.
Do you find a lot of non-compliant patients that you're trying to push forward to be compliant?
Absolutely. I think one of the biggest problems in the healthcare industry or in being able to take care of patients better in this country is non-compliance.
Technology that you're using, like are you using, there's remote physician visits, there's remote nursing visits, there's robotics, there's so many things that can come into play.
Absolutely.
Medicine, refill.
Absolutely. So the way we define telehealth is like a stack of 4 distinct pieces of building blocks. One is remote consultation. Remote consultation is I'm sitting at home, my child gets sick, I can dial in the doctor video conference and say, what do I need to do? Do I need to panic? Do I need to come to emergency room? Or can my child just take Tylenol and be okay? So that's the first level of telehealth. Second level of telehealth is remote clinic, where there is a longitudinal information about a patient. There is a follow-up. It's not just a transactional interaction with a physician. The third building block, which I think is the most important piece of what we are trying to do in terms of changing the healthcare industry, is remote care, where using artificial intelligence algorithms, using machine learning, using some of the really cutting-edge technology, we can identify what your goal should be, given your needs, as I said, and your motivation and your opportunity to do certain things, what your goal should be, what your action plan should be, and how can you achieve those goals.
So you're a keynote speaker over here. So would you like to share some of the nuggets from your keynote session today?
Sure. My message to the audience at TiE and also, really globally is about the importance of teaching computer science in schools. When you think about what our kids are learning in schools today, our schools are really, over time, our schools need to prepare kids for the jobs of the future, not the jobs of the past. And if you think, what are the jobs of the future going to require? Learning computer science is just as foundational as learning reading, writing, or math, or biology or chemistry. But most schools don't even teach computer science. And so my message is partly about this problem that we should solve, and partly about the solution that we've offered and the scale at which it's changing the world right now.
Definitely, and you are doing a fantastic job. I know millions of students are already using code.org, and you have already started, you have put together a K-12 curriculum for kids for Hour of Code. So that is fantastic. So what is the critical message, important message that you would like to give to the aspiring, I would say, entrepreneur or aspiring kids who would love to get into programming?
Well, for anybody who has never tried coding of any sort, I strongly encourage trying it at code.org. There's lots of places you can learn to code, and we don't teach the most advanced stuff. The stuff you learn on code.org isn't enough to get you a job. It's enough to dip your toes in it and to learn the very basics and learn the foundational concepts that then can prepare you for learning another language or for then going down a vocational path. The most important thing we're doing is trying to get schools to teach this. So if anybody's listening to me and thinking, oh, I should learn to code, the thing I would most want people to do is to go ask their school to teach computer science, which is much, much harder to do. Schools don't change very rapidly, but when enough people ask about it, they do. And the program we've created has made it so easy for individual teachers to teach coding and computer science in the classroom that almost 1 million teachers have now started teaching it in the last 4 years since we started.
So Zscaler is a cybersecurity company. We are in the business of protecting enterprise users We provide security as a service. It's delivered through the cloud across 100 data centers. So, big companies like GEs and Nestle's of the world don't have to deploy security boxes, in their IT closets, right? They get protections for the users wherever they are, regardless of the device, the location that they're coming from. We're in the business of protecting users.
Yeah. So when you're looking at a global market and you're looking at different regions, APAC and Latin America, India, Europe, what are some of the nuances that you find in different regions with cybersecurity? Because I'm sure.
Brilliant question,
Thank
right? Again, look, the internet is not the same everywhere, right? Generally, networks are faster and better performing in the US than they might be in Asia Pac, right? There are people want local content, right? So for example, if I have an office in Singapore and my traditional hub and spoke network forced everyone to go to Frankfurt because that's where corporate IT built, all the stacks of appliances. Well, guess what? When I search for news, I might get German news pages, right? Because you're coming out to the internet there. So, as you start going on to these multinational companies, you have to make sure that you can protect users locally, give them this fast user experience that they're used to. Very often, you go to a big company and employees say, hey, my home Wi-Fi and internet is so much better and faster than when I'm working in the office, right? So how do you give that same consumer-like user experience with the enterprise-grade security, right? And how do you do that in a world where networks in APAC may not be at par with networks in North America, right? And so what Zscaler has done is we've built this global cloud across 100 data centers everywhere, right? And we use carrier-neutral data centers. We bring in local ISPs that best serve the region. So if you have users in that geography, they get that fast, nimble internet experience. And from a corporate perspective, same policies. Policies follow the user, identical security protections across everywhere.
Thank you so much, Amit. Wonderful talking to you.
So I'm very interested in learning more about your company. So first tell me, what brings you to TiE Inflect today?
So we're here to show Zyro, which is this robotics kit. We were part of the TiE 50. We're very honored to be a part of the TiE 50. And we're here to show this really cool robotics kit and also do some networking and, well, absolutely taking a look at the other companies that are here as well.
Great. So tell me a little bit more about Zero UI.
So Zero UI is a company, we work mostly on robotics, and what we do here, our first product is called Zyro, and the idea is that we want to make robotics simple for kids and for anybody interested in robotics. So this is a smart interaction robotics kit. It consists of a glove and a few modules, and this is powered by IoT and plug and play. The idea is that you can just use these modules, put together your own robot. You can do some crafting, do some 3D printing or laser cutting, and make your own signature robot. Or you can buy one of our pre-made kits and build it up and have some fun with your homemade robot.
TiE 50 Awards program is TiE Silicon Valley's premier annual awards, recognizing the world's most successful technology startups, highly competitive among early-stage technology startups worldwide. Hundreds of attendees were gathered around the exhibitor hall, eagerly awaiting the announcement of the coveted TiE 50 Award winners. Let's take a look.
My name is Kamal Anand, and I ran the TiE 50 program along with Ram Reddy this year. So we're going to recognize TiE 50 has about 50 winners, but we want to recognize the folks who are actually present today, so we don't go on every name. So I'm just going to go in alphabetical order. First company is AppZen, and I believe Anant Kale is here from AppZen.
Thanks, guys. My name is Anand Kale, and what we do at AppZen is we use artificial intelligence to automate in real time expense report audit to detect any kind of fraud and non-compliance. And we do it for hundreds of companies today.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Some of the interesting topics that came up at the conference this year were EBS visa category and the implementation of technology in the agricultural sector.
Today we have the pleasure of having Mr. Tom Rosenfield, President of Canem Enterprises. Welcome, Tom.
Thank you. Thanks. An honor to be here.
Wonderful. So what brings you to TiE Inflect today?
You know, this is the first time we've ever been to the conference, and I can tell you we're really impressed. The reason we're here is because we're not involved in the tech industry, but we are involved in the immigration industry. And what we're realizing is under the Trump administrations, there's been significant restrictions and barriers put up for traditional ways to come here and work for Indian investors and others, such as H-1B investments and EB-2 and EB-3. All those categories under the Trump administration have become incredibly difficult to really navigate. And so why we're here is because we are a major, we're probably one of the largest regional centers involved in the EB-5 program. A lot of people know about the program, but the program is really, if you make an investment that creates jobs in the US, you are entitled to, you and your family, all members under 21, and get a green card. And so what we do is sponsor a lot of the projects and investments. We work with cities and states to do that. And frankly, this is becoming probably one of the last options, or one of the more popular options for Indian investors and others to get to the U.S. to work, given the restrictions that the Trump administration is putting on legal immigration. We always hear about all the illegal immigration restrictions, but there's so many quiet legal immigrations, and frankly that impact has been much greater, and there is concern in the tech community and the entrepreneurial community, and so we came here, and it's clear that there's a lot of interest in what we are discussing because there's a lot of concern for these families, and you can see why. People who are here are not sure they're going to get their visas renewed. There's much more difficulty for students to get jobs. So there is a lot of concern for families, and what we're trying to do is be, part of the solution. It's not for everyone. It's an expensive investment. It's $500,000, and it has to create jobs. But if it's done right, then it's an excellent investment for certain people who want this benefit. And frankly, a lot of the families, you can gift money to people. It's not like you have to earn it, but their money has to be lawful. And so it has proven to be one of the better vehicles for people now, and Indian communities become very, very much attuned to this and very interested in it. And we thought we'd put on a track that really taught people the basics and how to pick, projects, how to avoid trouble, because there are some problem cases, but hopefully you do it right.
I'm here with Danny Rogers. He's with Bowles Farming Company. You're the VP of Technology. So how are farms and farming companies using technology?
So there's so much opportunity for tech in agriculture. Our farm, we're using it anywhere from kind of how do we manage HR data to how do we actuate a valve in the field, how do we use satellite technology and imagery to create better insights in our scouting methods. So there's a ton of different things that we're using in the farm, but all of them center around having really good data management and organizing your information streams very well.
So what are you gathering from here as far as you're at a technology conference? So when you attend this, what are you looking for?
So I'm looking for answers or solutions that connect dots, and what I'm finding is that the types of things that we're wanting to do with AI and machine learning, the same challenges exist in every industry, and more it's just reinforcing my focus on the farm, and we really need to get our data organized and have really good data.
I think for any entrepreneur from emerging markets like India, always capital is a big challenge. I think when we landed upon here as a visitor in TiECon, one of the TiECon 3 years before, we figured out, okay, this place has a lot of abundant capital, not like India. It has helped us put a bridge, and we learned how to structure the company, have a US entity, etc. stuff, and that way, I think with respect to capital financing, TiE has helped us grow further and kind of learn the nuances of financing, capital financing, and we have raised funds also through the connections what we have built through TiE and the Silicon Valley. So I think it's in emerging markets like India where there are capital challenges, I think all entrepreneurs should look at events like this, which is happening in the core of Silicon Valley. I think they should explore, I think which can solve some bit of their problem. If entrepreneurs can access some of the capital which Silicon Valley has, I think it can solve some of the problem, and it can encourage a lot of more entrepreneurship happen from the emerging markets like India.
Kumar Malavali. He is with VKRM Services. And who doesn't know you? You've been a TiE charter member for 20 years.
Yeah,
You're one of the founders for Brocade and so many other things. Now you're a serial entrepreneur on your third company, or probably many more than that. Talk about your newest company, your latest venture.
My latest venture, after having done co-founded Brocade, actually before I do that, I'd like to talk to you about my second venture, which was Image Systems, which was in the area of migration of workload from any cloud to any cloud. And that was called Image Systems, as I said earlier. That got acquired by Microsoft. After the acquisition, then I got involved in a company called C3DNA. The C3DNA is a company which is revolutionary and also which has a disruptive technology to allow the application by automatically migrate from one cloud to another cloud, whether it is public cloud or private cloud or the data center to the cloud, any hardware. And we made sure by changing the computing model itself, we gave the power to applications to manage themselves, monitor themselves, with an attachment of a policy engine which has all the characteristics of that application, including performance, security, cost, everything else. So because the fact that applications are self-managing, self-monitoring, it can move or migrate to another place if there is a fluctuation in performance, security, or cost. So we have done that, and we recently hired a CEO by name Michael, Max Michael, who came from IBM after having run a large division there, and then now he is trying to put the business structure around the technology that we build in, and we have about 20 odd POCs going on all over the world, and then now our job is to how can we convert all the POCs into paid customers, and also we are about to sign the agreement with a couple of VCs to close the $3 to $4 million round to give us enough financial muscle to build sales and marketing team, and also augment the engineering team to make sure that the product is developed which are ready to be used in the customer environment.
Excellent.
So what brings you to TiECon today?
So I'm here today as part of the IoT track. We have an automotive data services platform that connects data from connected cars, ingests it, normalizes it, and enhances it and makes it available for application service providers to create all kinds of amazing services for drivers. So we're here today to meet with the best and the brightest and really keep our finger on the pulse of what's happening in IoT.
Excellent. So I understand that Tesla is also working wonderfully on smart cars and so on. So what's your take on that?
So I think Tesla is doing a lot of interesting things. They're doing it in their own confined system. We're working with about 10 OEMs, those are auto manufacturers, using their data to help power these services.
I'm here with Sanjay Saraf. Sanjay, tell me about the company Yapstone.
Yeah, my name is Sanjay, Chief Technology Officer for Yapstone. Yapstone is a very fast-growing fintech company. We do payment processing and we power global marketplaces such as HomeAway, Expedia, and some of the other large marketplaces in the ecosystem.
And how many years have you been around?
So the company's been around actually for a long time. We have been around since 2000, and the company's over the last 4 or 5 years, with the growth in the marketplaces ecosystem, the company's experiencing an exponential growth. We've just raised our Series C, $70+ million, valued pretty high. So just the company's looking pretty good.
What were some of the turning points for the company?
The turning points for the company really have been this exponential growth in the complete shift from traditional commerce to more of the marketplaces commerce, where you're really bringing buyers and sellers onto the platform and then enabling the payments behind the scenes. But what really gave us the breakthrough was that we were different than anybody else doing standard e-commerce payment processing, in that we bring to the bear the entire end-to-end technology in how we onboard merchants, how we underwrite merchants, how we do fraud and risk management, and then on the other side, how do we pay out to those merchants once we have collected the payment from the consumers of the transaction
When you're looking at global markets, what global markets or what regions were some of the, which ones did you start to conquer first?
Yeah, I mean, clearly the U.S. was, was where we started, and we had very, very good coverage in the U.S. We very quickly moved to internationally to Europe. Europe is actually growing 100% year over year for us. And what's really different about Europe is the payments ecosystem, the digital payments ecosystem is significantly different than the US in that there are a number of alternate payment methods that are used for digital. So people in Europe are not as comfortable with standard credit cards. They use various different online bank transfers to fund their digital transactions. And so that was very fundamental for us to start incorporating into our ecosystem, becoming as local as possible for those customers internationally. And so Europe's been a very key growth area for us. We're taking that same concept now to Latin America and Asia Pacific, but those are two major frontiers of growth for us.
Yeah, APAC region and Latin regions are pretty large. But when you're looking at the European markets and you're looking at dollar conversion and since the payment system, you're looking at financials, what are some of the nitty-gritty things related to that?
Yeah, no, I think that's a very good question. So from a payment processing perspective, when you go international, currency fluctuations, FX, and offering customers the choice of which currency they want to pay becomes pretty critical. And so we are addressing that by making our platform multi-currency aware. So so we're not dealing just in like US or GBP, but we are doing US, GBP, euros, Canadian dollars, and we continue to add more currencies. And then on the other side, we're also giving customers the choice to say, hey, if I'm from Europe, do I want to pay for this vacation rent in the USD or in euro? And we dynamically do that currency conversion for them. And we maintain that currency FX rate throughout the duration of that booking that they may have. So for example, I may have booked a transaction in January, but I'm actually staying in July. So we maintain the FX behind the scenes. So there's a lot of logic that we had to build to maintain, for the customer it should be, if I have a refund or a cancel, I get the same amount of money back and not the new FX money. So incorporating FX into the whole equation has been very important.
And we're here at TiECon 2018, TiECon Inflect. What are some of your takeaways? I know it's only been a few hours here today, but what are some of your takeaways? Are you enjoying the conference?
No, I think the conference was, the focus and the theme of the conference around AI and machine learning and how it adapts to various different sectors, in particular for me, for fintech, I think is very timely. There's a huge potential to transform the banks, not just the fintech companies like ourselves, but even the traditional historical banks are now getting transformed by data and AI. And so I think this is very timely.
Thank you so much, Sanjay. Thank you for your time and enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Here's a little bit about the financial impact of technology. Fintech startups exceeded $38 billion in 2016, and manufacturing over $148 billion will be invested over the next few years. By 2020, blockchain technology will be utilized by 65% of enterprises. And by 2022, cybersecurity will have revenue potentials exceeding $10 billion. And by 2025, there are major breakthroughs in AI spending that will exceed $40 billion. I'm talking to Patty Ramanathan with iValley Innovation Center. Hi, Patty. How is the conference going so far for you?
Good, Kavita. It's a great conference. I was here a few years ago too, and last year as well. It's a great place. A lot of the Valley comes here, and I'm seeing a lot of international attendance this year as well. But very good content, good emerging technologies, and what's happening in the Valley. So it's a great conference.
And your space is blockchain, fintech. There's a lot going on right now with cryptocurrencies and people investing, not investing. There's a lot of, just general public curious and excited about it. Tell me a little bit about that.
That's right. Yeah, no, fintech is an interesting. Yeah, so I run a corporate fintech accelerator here in the Bay Area, in San Ramon, iValley. What we do is we help banks connect with fintechs. And as you rightly pointed out, there's a lot going on. So if you just step back and look at the amount of investments that have happened in fintech, I think by current research estimates, there's almost 90 billion with a B of money that venture capitalists have put on fintech. obviously started in the United States, moved to Europe, and now Asia, even India. Singapore wants to be a fintech hub. And essentially what it is that whatever a bank provides you in terms of capabilities, startups, very operationally agile and smart and nimble, they are able to do that, right? At a very high level, even things like Apple Pay, right? That's a fintech. It's not a startup, but it's Apple, but it lets you pay in a different way. And it works with the existing pipes, but kind of that broad category. But payment's not the only one. There's credit and wealth management, and on the commercial side, institutional capital markets, seeing a lot of technologies. Now you alluded about blockchain. So that's kind of the new kid or new technology or emerging technology in the block. Fundamentally it is, for your viewers, it's a distributed ledger or information that's kind of stored in multiple nodes in a network. In the same way, or alternatively, a blockchain is a way you can secure a network. So why that is important? Because if you think about in financial services, everything is about securely and risk-averse way managing flow of information and value, right? Assets, money, or what have you. Even when you buy a house, right? The transaction goes in front. So there's a lot of information, there's a lot of information that needs to be right and secure transfer of money. Blockchain fundamentally changes that process and appends it. It makes it very easy to do that in a very safe and secure way.
I'm here with Dan Sun of Trimble. He's a general manager. Dan, you're one of the sponsors here. Trimble is.
Yep.
Tell me a little bit about the company.
Yeah, so Trimble is a 40-year-old Silicon Valley company. We're probably one of the best kept secret here. We do a lot of vertical industry solutions, from construction to agriculture, transportation, logistics, and geological surveys. We have a lot of sensors, a lot of models, a lot of analytics, and the part that I'm running is really about traceability. So think about anything, but food is one of the areas that we focus on. So a lot of the fresh produce, we trace them in the field. So what kind of soil, what kind of weather, chemicals applied, and how they grow, and then from there to the supply chain. What kind of conditions they're in, whether they have defects, what kind of temperature they're in, where in the country, on the highway, in the back of the truck are they at, right? When they get delivered to a retail distribution center, do they meet the USDA spec? Do they have any defects? What's the shelf life? And when they finally reach consumer home, consumer can use our solution to trace the product, but also provide feedback on their experience, whether they like the taste, the texture, the appearance, so that the growers, the brand owners, have the feedback from consumers, and they can use the data to determine which variety, which farm, which carrier, which season has better taste, variety, texture, or shelf life, all that, right? So we're working to from end to end to use the entire value chain to improve the product quality and also reduce waste.
That's a lot of data collection from start to finish.
Exactly, that is a lot of data collection. So you will have a lot of sensors, a lot of IoTs in that. We have a lot of software analytics in that. We're using blockchain to chain all these things together to make sure it's scalable. It's global. We actually have customers on a global scale.
Very nice, very nice. And you're enjoying the conference?
Absolutely, it's one of the best conferences.
Hi Seema, how are you doing?
I'm great, Rocky. Thanks for having me here.
So first, please tell us what brings you to TiE Inflect.
Well, I'm the president of TiE Miami. It's a new chapter that we launched and we were actually approved of just yesterday. So we are going to bring TiE to Miami. I've been on the TiE Global Board in the past, and I've also founded TiE Detroit. So this is my second chapter. So being here was to reconnect with this ecosystem, find old friends, and make new ones.
Fantastic. And I understand you have one more initiative.
Yes, I'm also chairing a U.S. State Department funded initiative. It's called Project AIRSV. It's an acronym for All India Roadshow for Women's Economic Empowerment through Entrepreneurship. Our belief is that by empowering women to become entrepreneurs, we can lead to greater economic empowerment, which can therefore contribute to gender equality. This is the second year we got funded from the U.S. State Department, which is considered a big deal. And we have, by the end of the second year, we would have empowered 575 women in India in almost 60 cities from 15 states. These women are actually from tier 2, tier 3 cities, so they're not even from the bigger metropolitan areas. And we are actively looking for mentors. The unique thing about this program is that it takes US best practices in the context of what's relevant to India by taking US mentors to India in phase 1. We conduct workshops in India. Best practices are shared over 4 days, and then we select a smaller subset of mentees who then get remote mentoring from US and India-based mentors. So it's been a very impactful program. The State Department has recognized this as one of the leading programs for women entrepreneurs in India, and we've been given due recognition for it. And the most important being getting second-year funding. So it's always gratifying for that. We are looking to scale this program up, and we're trying to take it to other chapters in TiE ecosystem as well.
I'm here with Jay Chaudhary. He is the CEO, chairman, and founder of Zscaler, and he's also a speaker and a grand keynote speaker here at TiECon 2018, TiECon Inflect. Sir, how's it going for you today?
Wonderful. It's a great conference. I've been doing TiECon since 1998, so it's great.
And tell me about your company, Zscaler. I hear a lot of things about it.
So Zscaler is disrupting the old way of doing security. With cloud computing happening, as applications are moved to the cloud, users are working from everywhere. The old school security of buying and deploying security appliances in your data center at your headquarters is no longer relevant. We have cloud-based security, whereby our security acts like a check post in 100 data centers. So no matter where you are, what device you're on, what location you're on, you go through our security check post to whatever application and service you're going in. It's almost like an international airport. When you go in and out, inspection happens, and you move on.
And as far as globalization, I know you have major, large enterprise clients all over the world.
Yep.
When you're talking about the US market, which is, of course, your main market, and as you scale to other regions, Europe and APAC and others, what are some of the challenges or benefits or uniquenesses of working with different regions?
In my past companies, I faced that. So most US startups are 80% business US, 20% in outside. Here I try to do things differently from day one. I put the same size team in Europe that I put in the US.
Very nice.
So our business, 50% US, 50% international today. So I'm very proud of it.
Yeah.
So there are some challenges in international markets. US is very homogeneous markets. And second market, which is more homogeneous and easy than the Asia Pac and whatnot, is Europe. So Western Europe is good.
Yes.
Asia Pac and Latin America creates their own challenges. So we really have made sure we are strong in US and EMEA or Europe.
Yes.
And then you expand to selective markets. We are strong in Australia, New Zealand. We are strong in India. And then some of the markets like Latin America are a little tougher.
Yeah.
China, because it's China, it's tough.
Yeah. And since we are Times Now, talk about India, the India market, and how your company reaches out to the India market and branches out.
So India is a good market for us. We got a good sales presence, but more than that, India plays a very important role for Zscaler. Over a third of our employees are in India. In fact, most startups from US, they just go to Bangalore. Bangalore is good, but Bangalore is becoming like Silicon Valley. A little less loyalty, lots of cutthroat competition. So we have A-tier city, Bangalore, and B-tier city in Chandigarh. We have about 200 plus people in Chandigarh, and they're doing wonderful. So India is an important part of making sure you have good productivity, you can do 24/7, and you have actually lower cost.
I'm here with Paul Singh. He is the co-convener of TiE Inflect 2018. Paul, it's wonderful to have you, and it's just an awesome conference this year. The tracks, AI and fintech, so many different areas, boot camps are excellent. I'm hearing wonderful things from people. What are some of the things this year that you worked with the team to create, to do?
So I think we took a little different tack this year. So we looked at the core technologies, the AI and the blockchain, which are making a huge impact in every market segment. So we've sort of structured all of our themes around how the technology of AI and machine learning and the whole blockchain is impacting every industry, all the way from fintech to martech to DevOps. And so we've created all the sessions, even security, what is the impact of these technologies on it. So we structured everything around this key theme that we've followed through the conference. And it's come together really nicely, and people really like the concept. We also, this year, for the first time, we've experimented with doing a one-day boot camp. So we have been doing a startup boot camp now for 2 years. So this was the first time we did a boot camp on blockchain, very hands-on, whole technology understanding, and then also on AI and machine learning. And they were pretty full.
Today we have Rahul Kashyap with us. He's a CTO of Silence. So what brings you to TiE Inflect today?
Yeah, so I was invited to do the keynote for cybersecurity, and I was very excited because I've been a part of TiE for many years. In fact, last year also I was here. I'm an entrepreneur myself, so it's the crowd, the vibe in the atmosphere here reminds you of the good old days of what it takes to build a company, and you meet a lot of like-minded people who are always trying to do something different, challenge the status quo, and at the same time, always thinking of innovation. How can we move the ball forward? So it's a very exciting place to be at, and I'm glad to be here.
So I understand Silence is doing something very interesting in today's market. So tell us more about Silence.
Yeah, so Silence is an amazing story. It was built in 2012, a fairly new company by the former CTO of McAfee, Stuart McClure, and the chief scientist, Ryan Perma. And the product has been shipping for over 4 years now, and it is probably one of the fastest growing endpoint cybersecurity companies ever. So amazing success. Now we are doing a global expansion across the planet, and but the core idea, what really appeals to people is how do you simplify cybersecurity, and how do you solve a problem called the malware problem. So the focus of the company has always been on prevention. How do you prevent cyber attacks reliably, effectively, and without creating too much noise? So that the simplicity and the messaging leveraging artificial intelligence really helped. This is one of the first few cyber security companies which actually took on the whole AI technology base to build a completely new, I would say, category in threat prevention.
I'm talking to Radhika Iyengar-Emmons. She is talking about blockchain technology, and she is with the Double Nova group here and a managing partner with them and a speaker here at TiECon. Radhika, tell me about your speaking engagement.
So yesterday I moderated a great panel, and we talked about investment trends in blockchain as well as the changing regulatory landscape.
What are some of the interesting parts about regulatory in blockchain?
It's interesting, but it's also very challenging. So one of the things that last year was a really great hype cycle within blockchain and cryptocurrency, for example. A lot of companies did ICOs or initial coin offerings, and we saw a lot of that happen, and there were just these astronomical amounts of money raised through that process. Since February, though, the SEC has been making it quite clear that the tokens have to be much more deemed as security tokens rather than utility tokens, and that's created a little bit of a pullback in the ICO landscape. And so we talked a lot about the impact of that and how in the US some of that ICO activity has been subdued, whereas globally it's been just boom. And so there are some shifting sands, if you will. Blockchain is a very international space. There are many different jurisdictions that are available to do these ICOs. And so the panel talked a little bit about the shifting sands, if you will, and how does that impact sometimes the process of innovation here within the US, not to fall behind other areas of the world where the governments might be a little bit more clear in terms of guidance on how do you do these ICOs and what's allowed or not allowed. Of course it's allowed here, but the nature of having be a security token and being able to crowdfund only through accredited investors really changed the landscape significantly since February, so that's obviously had an impact.
I'm here with Spencer Waugh. He is the CEO of ASAGE, and he's going to demo a wonderful product for us that helps patients take medicine.
That's
or
correct.
be compliant patients. So tell me how this works.
So we start at the pharmacy when they organize the patient's medication in a pre-organized spool. So date and time, dose, entirely customized to the patient. And they put this packaging inside a cartridge. And so they go home and they stick it inside the back of their device, and that's all they have to do. Because what happens is it reads the information on the packaging and automatically schedules. And so it's time for your medication. It lights up, it makes a nice noise, and you press that button to get the medication you need. So with every dispense, we validate that's the right medication at that point in time. We pre-open the pouch, so it's easy to open, and then we separate from the rest of the spool. So in about 7-8 seconds, you get the medication you need at that exact point in time.
How did you come up with this idea? The team come up with this idea. It's wonderful.
So I watched my grandfather go to the hospital over and over again because he wasn't taking his medication properly. And when looking at existing solutions, there was nothing that was simple enough to fit into his life. And so through 6 distinctive product iterations, we came up with something that you just pop a cartridge in the back and you press a button to get exactly what you need.
Very nice. Excellent product. And you've had some interest in the product here?
Here at TiEquest, I've been walking around with it, and people are stopping me like every step because they're like, "What is that? You know, tell me about it." So it's been a fantastic conference.
It's a wrap. I hope you learned a lot while enjoying TiE Inflect 2018. These past few days, TiE Silicon Valley hosted the largest conference dedicated to fostering entrepreneurship. TiE Inflect attracted more than 5,400 professionals, 220 speakers, 15 tracks, 1,300 industry leaders across 60 chapters in 22 countries, and focused on the largest areas of innovation. I featured 2 days of immersion into the largest technological areas across multiple verticals delivered by the leading experts in the world. I'll see you next year at TiE Inflect 2019, reporting from the Santa Clara Convention Center in California. This is Kavita Bajaj for Times Now.